Hello friends, it's Becky from SustainablePrepping.com, your home for fear-free emergency preparedness on the internet, and today we are talking about recession-proofing your pantry. Oh yes, we are. If you are new here, I just want to say a special welcome. I know I have a bunch of new subscribers. Welcome. I'm so glad you found me. If you're not new, I am so glad you came back. Welcome back. We're going to talk about food storage. It's Food Storage February, and we have a lot to cover today. So let's jump in. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a single video I have on fear-free emergency preparedness, because I have a whole bunch coming up for you. So what does it mean to recession-proof your pantry? The idea is that you purchase items now, key specific items now that will help hold you in the event that we go into a recession and that we have a rise in inflation and a drop in the dollar value so that your money doesn't go quite as far. Now, some of you might be already experiencing a recession or a lack of your own funds because of furloughs, because of lost hours, because of job losses, and I get that. But a lot of us are in this weird in between where we've seen some rise in food costs between 3 and 5% across the board, but we haven't seen the big spikes that we often will find in a recession where your dollar just doesn't go as far. Recessions can last a long time. They can last anywhere from a few months to a few years. Anybody who lived through the Great Recession in 2008 knows that recessions can last a while. So recession-proofing your pantry is looking ahead, knowing that a recession is likely, right? We were already due for a recession before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit, and now we are definitely entering into a pretty significant economic recession. And so getting some things in order now that are going to help stretch your dollar for the long run is exactly what we're trying to do to recession-proof your pantry. So the first thing that you should do before you really begin with items in your recession-proof pantry is to evaluate your space. You guys know I love a good inventory, but really it's evaluating the space that you have so that you know exactly what key items you can realistically purchase and begin to stock up on. If you're someone who only has, for example, the freezer attached to a refrigerator, you're going to need to use that freezer space really efficiently and effectively if you want to store items that are best stored frozen, like certain meats, like specialty baking items potentially, anything that would need to be frozen fruits and vegetables. You will need to make your space go as far as possible. So before you actually start acquiring items, I would do an inventory. You guys know I love an inventory. And then I would clean out your space. So if it's your freezer, clean out your freezer and get rid of everything that's not high need. Use it up, right? If you can, use it up. But if it's something that you've just been having in the back of the freezer, if it's, old pie crust that you don't really use, if it's old peas and carrots that you've forgotten about and they're freezer burned, they're just wasting space. They're not giving you value. So make sure your space, your freezer space, your fridge space, your pantry space, if you have limited space, all of those things are full of items that are giving you value. If there are things that are less valuable, find ways to use them up if they're still good. Donate them if you can't find a way to use them, or just get rid of them because it's not worth them taking up your valuable space. Okay, so now you've done an inventory, now you know your space. Now we're going to look at the items you need to store to help recession-proof your pantry. And the first thing to look at is items that you use that have the potential to rise in cost exponentially. This is things like dairy and meat in particular, because the cost of meat can go up a lot more than the cost of things like grains. But this can also encompass specialty foods. So for example, if you are somebody who has celiac, my oldest son does, celiac foods that are designed and certified gluten-free are much more likely to have an exponential rise in cost than non-gluten-free items. Why? Because manufacturers know that if somebody is genuinely gluten-free, needs gluten-free items, they're going to pay a 10%, a 20%, a 30% increase because they have to have it. So yes, you could say that's price gouging, but they could claim it's just natural inflation. So that's the kind of thing, a specialty item. If you have a specialty diet, if you are on a sugar-free diet, if you need a particular kind of food for diabetes or for even a lifestyle diet, if you're paleo or something, this is the time now to begin, especially if you find sales, to stock up on those items that are already costly or already specialty, and then to stock up on the items that naturally have an increase when times are tight. So meat tends to increase, and we're already looking at some potential problems with meat production. Stocking up now on meat, buying in bulk if you have a freezer, is a way to recession-proof your pantry, because then you can stretch that dollar out, right? Buying it now when it's cheaper, if it goes up in price, you'll have some in your freezer if you are a home canner in your, on your shelf, that can help stretch that dollar. So the second thing to do to recession-proof your pantry is, if you have access, bulk buy as many of your staple items now. I recognize that not everybody has access to bulk buying stores, particularly package-free stores, but if you have access, or you can order online and buy up front 50 pounds of rice, 25 pounds of rice, something like that, and store it. This is not your long-term storage. This is not food storage for 25 years from now. This is going to be what you're constantly using and rotating. Buying a large amount now, having a way to store it, means that if the price goes up later, you've actually purchased items you use day in and day out at a lower cost. Some ideas for bulk purchasing are going to be things like grains, so rice and quinoa if you're someone who uses quinoa, corn, like popping corn if you eat a lot of popcorn, or you like to grind your own cornmeal, you can buy corn for that. But baking supplies like white flour, wheat flour doesn't keep as well, so white flour, baking soda, sugar, those sorts of items are things that keep very well as long as you store them appropriately. So look at food grade buckets with gamma seal lids. Those are great ways to store very large amounts and quantities of food that you're going to be getting in and out of. I'll have a link down below to some food grade buckets and gamma lids for you to look at. Whether or not you purchase them from me is not important, but you can sort of see what I'm talking about. But if you have the space to store bulk items, going ahead and getting the habit of ordering bulk means you're buying it cheaper before the price goes up, and you have it on hand, which means in the future, if your dollar doesn't stretch as far, you have a nice supply of staple items that can help stretch that grocery dollar. Another great thing about buying bulk essentials is that it gives you peace of mind. If you're someone that eats legumes, so lentils or beans, for example, having them dry, learning to cook with them dry so you can buy them in bulk in 20-pound, 50-pound bags, and then storing them means that you have like a 6-month supply always, right? You always have this big surplus that can easily be used. And as long as it's an item that you do use, right, that you will work through in about a year or so, you're going to get a good bang for your buck. And so if you always just plan to have that bulk purchase, you don't wait until the very end of your barrel, you have a little bit left and you do your big bulk purchase, this habit will allow you to have some peace of mind that if you're stuck at home, right, you already have a great robust working pantry. And so this is going to, again, allow you to buy a really large amount now before the price goes up, and then have it so it offers you both savings on your dollar and it offers you peace of mind. The third way to recession proof your pantry is to buy expensive items now, things that are already costly now, and begin to stock up on them while you have a better dollar, right? You get a better bang for your dollar, as well as you might have more dollars to spend. Now, not everybody's in the position where they have a little bit of surplus right now. A lot of people are really having to tighten their belts already. But if you have a little bit of extra and you know that your family just really loves chocolate sauce on their vanilla ice cream and that like just makes their year, buy 2. Buy 3, buy 4, right? And have them on the shelf, because there's going to come a time if we get into a deep recession where you're not going to be buying it. And so to have it as a comfort food, to have it stocked away, maybe you have one on the shelf and you have 1 or 2 hidden away in a special place for later on when they're too costly to purchase, you're basically putting your dollars and investing in comfort for your family. Other things can be special sauces, specialty sauces, or even specialty spices that are maybe costly or hard to get that you'd need to order. Going ahead and getting those before the recession makes shipping and handling more expensive, makes shipping them into the United States, importing them into the United States more expensive. Friends, anything that you rely on being imported in, go ahead and get some now. Now again, your recession pantry, especially if money is tight, is going to lack a lot of items that are non-essentials. And learning how to cook non-essentials, learning to be satisfied with very basics is going to be key to a happy, healthy season in the recession. But we're trying to recession proof our pantry. And so going ahead and while you might have a little bit of excess, while the dollar is doing better, right? It's not doing great, but it's not doing terribly. Go ahead and get a few of those specialty costly items now. Now, yes, they can be condiments, spices, sauces, even alcohol or chocolates, right? Those sorts of things. It can also be specialty fruits and vegetables that you then put in the freezer. This is why I was talking about freezer space. Bell peppers are really expensive to grow, okay? They're really expensive to grow. And if you just love bell peppers and your fajitas, and you really, really don't want to have to pay $5 for a bell pepper, which you might in the future if the recession gets really bad and we have some farming problems, which it looks like we might, you can go ahead and buy frozen bell peppers now, right? Go ahead and buy a couple bags of frozen bell peppers now, get comfortable using them, and then just have them. So when they get expensive, you have them in the freezer. This is the same thing with fruit. My family, we love fruit in our family. And so fresh fruit is one of the first places you see that spike in cost. Well, we try to have a nice supply of frozen fruit so that when those costs get a little too much for our budget, we have some fruit available. Is frozen as good as fresh? Not really, unless you're making a smoothie, but it's better than nothing. So it's good to have those, identify those areas that are priorities for you. A couple of things that would go into this category that I want to make mention are things like coconut milk, canned coconut milk. A lot of us cook with canned coconut milk for curries and things like that. And so if that's something that you really love, that's the kind of thing that will go up exponentially in price, because importing coconuts and then canning them and then getting them to our grocery stores is just a much more expensive process than other things. So again, if those are the sorts of things that you like, that's the sort of thing, you know, it's canned, so it will last for a while. Go ahead and get 4, 5, 8 cans, 10 cans, depending upon how much you use, and just have it so that when it gets a little bit too costly for the budget that you have, you do already have it on your shelves. Finally, go back and look at your meal plans or your favorite recipes. What are the things that you are eating on a regular basis that you're going back to? Prioritize the top 5 to 10 items that you are using day in and day out, even if they're less costly. Now, do remember that something like meat is going to have an exponential rise compared to beans. For example, if a pound of chicken costs $3 right now and it doubles in price, it's going to be $6 a pound. If a pound of beans costs $1 right now and it doubles in price, it's only going to be $2. So think about those kind of increases, right? If something were to double in price, what would be the most important thing to have on your shelf? But also think about the things that you use. Just stocking up on specialty items means you're going to have a pantry with gaps. So don't just buy, 26 bottles of wine. Right? I mean, Mama loves her wine and doesn't want to go through the recession without a bottle of wine every now and again. But the point is looking at the things you use most often and then beginning to stock up, especially if you see a sale. Like, be savvy if you can, especially if you have a coupon, right? Will help you be able to maintain as much normalcy as possible. Pasta is cheap, and even in a recession, pasta will be among the cheaper options. But pasta sauce might increase in price. So while you might only have 4 to 6 weeks of actual pasta on your shelves, you might decide that you want to have a full 2 months of pasta sauce. It really depends upon what your priorities are and what works for you and your family. The key to recession-proofing your pantry is to look at the items that are most likely to have big increases in price. And again, these are things like meat and dairy. These are things like imported goods and specialty items. And then taking the time now before the dollar tanks completely to buy as much as you can, store reasonably. That way, when we get into recession and your dollar has to stretch, you can focus on buying perishable items that you can't buy in advance, and you can buy those cheaper bulk items, those cheaper staple items, and allow your pantry to hold you and carry that dollar further. Comment down below, let me know, what are you going to add to recession-proof your pantry? I know that we are focusing on some specialty items for our son who has celiac disease and on some specialty imported items that we really, really love, like coconut milk, to make sure we have the ingredients to make our family's favorite recipes. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. It lets me know that you like this kind of content, and come and join us in our Facebook group. We are doing so much over there. And if you're somebody who wants to recession-proof your pantry by having a 1-month supply of emergency food, real whole emergency food, not freeze-dried stuff you ordered from the internet, I have a program for you. It is called Food Storage in a Weekend. You can do an entire month of food storage for your family, however big your family is, 1 person, 10 people, the whole shebang, and you can do it in a weekend. And I have it live, but it's only live through February 22nd. So if you are interested and you're watching this in a timely way before February 22nd, 2021, I'm going to have a link down to Food Storage in a Weekend for you. This is the perfect guide to getting your 1 month of emergency food storage planned. And let me tell you, if you want to have 2 or 3 months, you just double or triple the plan. It's that easy. It's so easy. Friends, I'm so excited to be bringing this to you and to be offering some coaching along with it. I'm just so excited. I hope that you take advantage of the course. I hope that you join us in Facebook group where we are talking about all things food storage because it's Food Storage February. I hope you guys are all doing well, and I am going to see you all in the next video.